Hello! Sorry for the frankly awful artificial lighting. I'm racing against the daytime. I'm pretty sure that filming YouTube videos after work in March is an extreme sport. Last week I talked about the good reason for my 2-week hiatus. Today I'm talking about one of the bad ones. On the day that the little sprout was born, I found out that one of my very oldest friends had committed suicide and that his life support was being turned off that day. I spent that morning in the prenatal unit, sobbing inconsolably on my girlfriend's shoulder. So today is about Kimba, and friends, and grief, and on the silver linings that exist on even the very blackest of clouds. For context, I consider myself to be a furry in remission. There's not really any such thing as an ex-furry, but I've not been to conventions or meets or active in online spaces or anything along those lines for like 10 years. Kimba was a furry, and although he was living in the Netherlands at the time, I met him at a fur meet in London about 17 years ago. Same as pretty much everyone who ever met the guy, I was immediately drawn to him. He had that combination of wit and warmth and charisma and physical attractiveness that tends to make a person immediately the centre of a room, and he would use that effect to bring people closer to each other. Everyone wanted to be near him, and in doing so we were also closer to each other. I fell really very in love with him over the course of those first couple of years, and although romantically it never went anywhere, I did instead get a rather wonderful 17-year friendship, which I'm going to call a win. When I found out that Kimba was dead, and I had no information other than that, I knew immediately that it was one of two things. It was either suicide, or he'd ploughed into a tree somewhere and broken himself. He was a massive adrenaline junkie, kind of a force of nature. You could usually find him throwing himself down some incredibly stupid hill attached to either a snowboard or a longboard or some rollerblades. I wished so hard in those first 2 hours before I knew the details that what had happened was he'd taken a wrong turn off a cliff and got squished at the bottom, because frankly that would be a more fitting end for the guy. Some people really should go out with a bang. Following finding out, grieving for Kimba has been weird. I'm not a person with many links to his past. I have moved a lot and reinvented myself a lot, and I'm god-awful at keeping in touch with people down the road, no matter people a world away. Kimba moved to Canada about a decade ago, and so all of our communication has been text, video calls every couple of weeks, and so I found myself alone with no one around me in my immediate life who had ever known him, who could understand anything close to what I was feeling. It was an incredibly lonely feeling. I mean, I have a wonderful life these days. I'm happier than I've ever been, but it does mean no one in my immediate life understood how important he'd been, the impact he'd had on my life, how much of a role model he'd been, to what extent huge chunks of my personality, a lot of my favourite bits, were shaped by wanting to be more like him and wanting to be to other people what he had been to me. Kind of brought down like a hammer how little I have left of my old life. On Saturday the 17th of March, Kataya, one of these old friends that I'm occasionally in contact with, held a memorial house party for Kimba, and I cannot express how exactly what the doctor ordered that was. A dozen old guard furries, all of us in our 30s and 40s now, met up and reminisced and talked and played video games and drank Ty's homemade mead. Utterly lovely people, many of whom I've not seen in literally 10 to 15 years. And then at the end of the night we went outside into the snow and raised a glass as Kataya lit some really irresponsibly large fireworks in his incredibly small North London backyard to the tune of The Circle of Life from The Lion King. I'm home now, as is evident, but everyone exchanged contact details and a commitment to see each other less than 10 years from now and under less sad circumstances. And so, even in death, the tiny lion is bringing people together. I love you, Kimba. I miss you, and I will always remember you. Rest in peace, tiniest lion.
So, this seems like the only appropriate way to light this.
You can put the match in your teeth. Oh my god! Put it on! Put it on!
To Kimba, everybody.
To Kimba!
Whoa.
Oh my god! That stinks! To Kimba!
To Kimba, never a more appropriate thing was said. I figured that one was not enough, right?
That's
so,
insane.
Shall we hold this?
A condom full of water. You're not going to be able to time it. Oh my god, you are! Perfect timing, my goodness.
Beautifully done.
To Kimba.
To Kimba.
Kimba.
That's a really big rock.